One of the major differences between playing at the net and playing at the baseline is that when you play on the baseline, it's a good idea to work on consistency. So that means you're trying to keep the ball in play. But when you come to the net, your main goal is not to keep the ball in play. Your main goal is to finish the point. So that's why it's also a good idea to practice in this way. And a good way to do that is to have a partner play from one corner, and you volley once or twice back to them, and then volley to the open court. So once or twice, play to your partner, and then volley to the open court. And another thing to remember is that when you come to the net, you don't really have a lot of time to think and analyze and decide what you're going to do. You have to volley instinctively. And if you practice in this way, so that you volley into the open court, this becomes your instinctive habit, and that will happen automatically in a match. First, you need to know where to position yourself. A good starting position is in the corner, just behind the baseline. But what usually happens with beginners is that they will serve like this and the ball will be short, and you will have to run every time to hit a short ball. So I suggest you position yourself just inside the court and see what happens. See if you have any difficulty returning the ball from here or not. But usually this will be a good starting position. And the last thing you need to work on at this stage is placement of the ball. When you're a beginner, your main goal is consistency. So that means you're trying to keep the ball in play. And a good way to do that when returning is to aim down the middle and deep. So see if you can consistently return deep and down the middle. Don't go for too much power. Just play the ball deep and see if you can be consistent. Returning at this beginner stage is basically the same as hitting a ground stroke. But now is the time to start developing a foundation for later, when you'll have to deal with faster and more accurate serves. So for that, focus on three things: where to position yourself, how to do the correct split step, and where to place the ball. So thanks for One of the biggest challenges that beginners face when they start learning how to play tennis is the ball judgment. They don't know how to judge the ball, or they don't know where the ball will go. And what's interesting about this is that a beginner always thinks that the ball will be shorter. So what always happens is that a beginner starts here, and then they see the ball, and then they rush to the ball and they hit too hard. Then maybe they start again, they get the ball, and then they rush to the ball. They don't know that the ball will actually fly deeper. So how can you solve this problem? The first drill that you can do is to stay behind the service line when you play with your friend or with your coach. So no matter what kind of the ball comes over the net, even if you think that it's short, you're not allowed to step in the service box. So stay behind the service line and play with your coach. And that way you will learn to wait a little bit for the ball. Because what a beginner doesn't know is that they can wait a little bit for the ball. And even if the coach plays very short, you are not allowed to go forward. You have to wait, and even if the ball bounces 2 times, you have to wait behind the service line. So practice this for a while and see if you can learn to judge the ball better. The second drill you can do to improve your ball judgment skills is to play a 2-bounce tennis. And that means you actually see where the ball bounces the first time, and then you see the whole flight, and then the ball bounces the second time. Because what the beginner usually thinks is that the ball bounces, and it goes up, and then it falls down quickly. But that's not actually the case. And with this you actually experience the whole ball flight, and you learn that the ball actually goes quite far. So here's how it goes. You play at about 3/4 distance, and you just let the ball bounce twice. And that way you will learn that the ball actually goes quite far after the first bounce. And after you play a while like this, you can come back closer and then play the ball after one bounce. But now you have the experience that the ball flies deep and you can wait a little bit. Another big challenge for a beginner is how not to hit too hard. What usually happens with the beginner is that they see a ball, they swing at the ball, and that goes too far. So it looks something like this. They see a ball, they see, and they just hit at the ball. And then another one, and they hit at the ball. And there are many reasons why this happens, but the main one is that they don't have a target. Most of the times when a beginner sees the ball approaching, this completely overwhelms them. They're not able to think anything else. They just see the ball, moving ball, and they want to connect that with a moving racket, and that's quite a challenging task. And that's the main reason why they hit too hard, is because they don't tell their arm how much to swing. Because if you know the distance, then you actually can feel the force, how much you need to swing. So even though this might look a very simple solution, it is the needed solution for hitting too hard, and that is, you need to have a target. And of course, the most obvious target is to play into service box. So, playing in the service box and reminding yourself all the time, where do I want to hit the ball, will actually help you not hit too hard. Another reason why a beginner hits the ball too hard is because they swing at the ball too much. Now, if you follow the progression in the forehand and backhand video, then you learned in the correct way how to start from a contact point. But many beginners don't start with this progression. They see that good players hit at the ball, they swing at the ball, so they try also. And a good way to prevent that is to play from this position. So that way the net prevents you from going backwards. And when the coach feeds you the ball, you actually learn that you don't need any backswing for this short distance. Of course, you can do this also on the backhand side. And then later, after a few minutes, you can go back and play on short court. And that way you will feel that you don't need to swing at the ball to play mini tennis.